channels. And there we go. Now she's fully luminant. Alright. Few other things we could do. We can come into her facial texture, and we could also add in a bump map to regenerate some bumpiness. Even though her skin has some bumpiness in its actual skin texture, we can add some procedural bumping via noise to just give the skin just that much more texture. We're obviously going to need to change our noise channel settings just a little bit. We're going to want to definitely bring down our noise, probably to about 10%. We want to get some real grainy noise here. And with the delta set up to 100 and the global scale set to 10, there's some ghosting that can occur with the noise shader. So we'll basically want to do the global scale and the global attenuation together at the same time to kind of sort of get that ghosting to kind of go away. We'll also want to set the strength of the noise shader to a smaller value. Somewhere around like 5% is probably pretty good. And if we zoom in on our face, we can kind of sort of see where our noise is going. See if it's too much or too little. And some starting to come together. Zoom in a little bit closer. And yeah, I'm definitely liking it. There's there's just that fine detail, that extra detail. Even though bump mapping is kind of fake a little bit, when we go into Zbrush and we start painting in normal maps, we can achieve a much more realistic, much more random wrinkle and bump to the skin. But this bump channel does a really great job right off the bat with just some quick procedural settings to just add a little bit more life to the character and make the skin just pop. Now there's only one more thing we need to work on. We removed that transparency map that was applying that fake reflection to our character's eyes. That reflection is due to the iris reflecting back light. So we can come into the iris here and we can actually turn on its reflection channel. And we can set its reflection up to 100% just to make sure that we are getting some reflection, and then maybe just bring it back down a little bit to maybe about 15%. The reflection tends to be pretty sharp in the eyes, so we'll leave the blurriness at 0. And if we render now, thanks to our sky and thanks to our global illumination, we should get the sky reflected in her eyes, and it's subtle, but there is reflection casting in her eyes from the sky. Depending upon the effect that you're looking for, you may want to bring up the brightness or down the brightness of your reflection channel. we apply a Fresnel shader to our eye, we can see if that helps. With it does create an interesting effect, but it's not the effect that we're actually looking for in this particular case, so we'll leave that alone. And, you know, we'll just keep, you know, this is a beautification process here. We'll just keep tweaking and playing around with our render settings. Our basic global illumination is going by pretty fast. I'm really liking it at 25%. So I'm going to keep it there, guys. But overall, she's starting to really come together. Alright. So that's the basics, guy, and then with a few more changes, you can basically get a pretty good HDR solution out of that. But we can go a little bit further. In our content library here, I actually have all the Grayscale Gorilla toolkits, plugins, and things. Quick tip here. If you're going to have a graphics asset folder that's going to hold a lot of your graphics assets on the regular, then you'll probably want to add it to your favorites in Cinema 4D. That way you don't have to go into the computer and hunt it down through a bunch of folders. Instead, you can actually now go to your favorites and just go right to it. But in your Cinema 4D presets here, you've got number of things. You've got models from your broadcast and your studio and your visualize suites, depending upon which version of Cinema 4D you have. Beautiful thing also here, you've got material presets. This is a quick way to get some quick car paint, or if you're looking to build a cloth material from scratch or something like that. This is a great way to get some quick leather materials, rubber, some quick stone work. Visualize tends to have a lot of your architectural and CAD design type surfaces and things like that. So this is a great place to go if you're looking for quick materials in that sort of way. Broadcast has a lot of interesting basic materials, and Prime has some HDRs which are really nice. I find that I use Visualize quite a bit for materials, because I do a lot of motion graphics, and there's a lot of titles and cars and different mechanical designs that I often use with MoGraph modules. I'll be going over some of that stuff as well in a later tutorial series. But getting away from ourselves, we're going to go to the Grayscale HDR Light Kit Pro, and we're going to actually pull in a HDR sky. We double click on it and it'll come into our scene quite nicely. Move this off to our second screen, and with the HDR sky selected, there's an espresso tag and some user data that they set up. It's basically allowing you to input stuff and set up your materials. So coming back to our content browser, if we go to our favorites now and we go to our graphics assets, we can come into our HDR images and we can get a nicer HDR image out of this. We can go to our CG source images here, and this HDR beach has a lot of lights and a lot of plants and different reflective things, a nice bright sun. This one is really great for testing a lot of reflections and textures and translucency settings and things like that. So we can just drag it and drop it straight into the HDR file setting here. and drag the content browser off to the side, and now we've got this beautiful HDR image here with the sun pointing straight at her face. We can bring down or up the brightness just via a slider here with their HDR Sky Rig. We can multiply the brightness out if we so choose. And we can also rotate the sun around so that we can have it at a different angle, so it doesn't, you know, blow out maybe the front of her face. Maybe we want it to blow from the side, and give her a nice shadow. Speaking of nice shadows, we could add a quick infinite floor as well. So we come over here to create while holding the left mouse button and dragging. Come to environment, floor, and now we've got an infinite floor here that we could apply a texture to. We can go to create, load material preset, go to visualize here, and go to nature, and maybe bring in a grass material, and go ahead and drag that onto our floor to apply to our floor. And give it a cubic projection so that it is more it's tiled in a more interesting fashion. And we can go ahead and render this, and we should get shadow thanks to the HDR image. And we should also get a lot nicer lighting. And the scene's a little bit more complex now, so it's taking a little bit longer to render. 22 seconds. But as you can see, there's a lot more detail with this texture. There's a lot more to the sky. There's clouds that are obscuring things. It's giving us a lot more oomph to our scene. We're seeing a lot more of what's going on with our texture, and we can improve the overall design of our character a little bit more this way now. Great. If your material browser gets a little heaped up with different things, you can go to function here and just remove the unused materials, and it'll get rid of any materials that are unused. I find when I'm doing a lot of merging of different assets from DAZ or different assets from outside of cinema, this can tend to you know, as you're pulling in different assets, it can tend to get kind of crazy here, and you might need to just clean out your scene of materials that aren't being used, but you're not entirely sure what materials are being used or not. Cinema 4D will just handle that just fine for you. Well, alright. The last thing that we need to worry about is our pose morphs. Earlier I said importing those morphs will allow you to be able to do rapid prototyping a lot faster than you would have been able to do it otherwise, by having to go back into DAZ, export the model again, and then try to retexture, re-add all that subsurface scattering and all that kind of craziness. No. We can just come in here, and DAZ has graciously created a pose morph tag for us that has all the morphs that it exported out for us. Things like that head fear control, for instance. And we can dial these sliders up and render, and now we're able to give her this Halloween terrified sort of expression really fast for a little Halloween scene, if we're trying to do something like that in the next couple of days. And there we go. All of that having to go back in the